Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We are continuing with Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter number 2, verse number 87. विरुदार्थ कह तुम्ही काही ते कररोष तुम्हारा अर्थे अविमष्ट विधेमान सदोष. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. You say something contradictory and become angry. When this is pointed out, your explanation has the defect of a misplaced object. This is an unconsidered adjustment. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So welcome to today's class on Chaitanya Charitamrita. We see that Sutta Goswami is continuing and he's talking about the misguided interpreter. If you remember previous few verses, he was talking about those people who are misguided and those people who interpret the Vedic scriptures. When does that happen? That happens because people don't like to hear what they should hear, or they when they don't hear what they like, then they become angry, and then all these speculations and interpretations come about. But where here we can see the Sutta Goswami is explaining how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No amount of interpretation, speculations can change that fact. You see, so different references from the scriptures is being given over here for our benefit so that we can use these references not only to understand of that yes, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but be able to even preach to others, to give this knowledge to others, to distribute the knowledge. So here we can see he's continuing. He's saying that you say something contradictory and become angry when this is pointed out. So this is what happens. Many times I remember when we were in the other place in Norcross, yes, Norcross condo, a couple used to come for the Bhagavad Gita class, and elderly couple, and excuse me, the husband was very interested in Bhagavad Gita, and he started chanting 16 rounds, and he was very serious about Krishna consciousness. That made us so happy. He would come on time and hear. His wife would also come, but after a while, it so happened. They even had a big program in their house. I don't remember where their house was now. It's been so many years, probably 15, 20 years. So we had a huge program in their house. Lots of new people had come and a lot of question answers. So it's very nice. Then I started getting a phone call from the wife 2, 3 days before the class. And she would say, you know, you said that and I didn't like that. You should have said it in this way, or you shouldn't have said that. And she started, trying to tell me how I should speak and what I should speak. In other words, speculation. So I asked her, why do you say that? And she said, oh, because I don't want my husband, to get influenced, or I don't want, in other words, she was probably not happy husband was progressing spiritually. But the point is that people don't like to hear what they need to hear. They want to hear what they like to hear, but that is not how it works. Krishna's words, the words of his devotees, they are fixed. They are as it is. We cannot make any changes. So finally, when she noticed that I am not going to speculate, I'm not going to speak according to her wishes, then they stopped coming. And that was very unfortunate. And I'm sincerely hoping that the husband is still chanting. Then we lost touch. But the point I'm trying to make is that people like to feel comfortable when they are getting spiritual knowledge. In other words, they don't want to get disturbed. Oh, now I heard I have to chant. Oh, no, now I have heard that I have to follow regulated principles. I wish you hadn't said that. No. So here, Sutta Goswami is continuing about misguided interpreters. Let's see what is verse number 88. Yanra Bhagavata Haite Anyera Bhagavata Swayam Bhagavan Shabdera Tahate Sata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Only the personality of Godhead, the source of all other divinities, is eligible to be designated Swayam Bhagavan or the primeval Lord. Shastra is making it very, very clear. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the source of everything. He's source of even the demigods, right? He tells us in Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate, right? So many references we are coming across in the scriptures which again and again repeat the same thing. So when so many times there is repetition, then it's important to understand that there should be no doubt, absolutely no doubt remained. When we are firmly fixed in this knowledge, then we will be able to preach to others. Because if the others see that we ourselves are not so convinced, we ourselves are not firmly fixed in this knowledge, then how can we give this knowledge to others? So let's go to verse number 89. दीपहैतेयचे बहुदीपेरज्वलना मूल एकदीपतः करियुगणना. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. When from one candle many others are lit, I consider that one the original. Purport. The Brahma Samhita chapter 5 verse 46 states that the Vishnu Tattva or the principle of the absolute personality of Godhead is like a lamp because the expansions equal their origin in all respects. A burning lamp can light innumerable other lamps, and although they will not be inferior, still the lamp from which the others are lit must be considered the original. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself in the plenary forms of the Vishnu Tattva, and although they are equally powerful, the original powerful personality of Godhead is considered the source. This analogy also explains the appearance of qualitative incarnations like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Shambhostu Tamo Adhishthanavavat Kajalamaya Shukshma Deepa Shikha Sthaniyasya Natatha Samyam. The Shambhu Tattva or the principle of Lord Shiva is like a lamp covered with carbon because of his being in charge of the mode of ignorance. The illumination from such a lamp is very minute. Therefore, the power of Lord Shiva cannot compare to that of the Vishnu principle. So here we see this verse from Brahma Samhita, which is again talking about the original and the others that come from the original. Now, all of them are equally powerful, but there is one original from which all others are coming. So, nice explanation is given that Vishnu Tattva is like burning lamp, okay? We can light other lamps, but the original lamp will still remain the original. That will be the origin. So Krishna, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the origin, he is original, and from him others come. Now the others that come from him, they are also equal to him in the sense that they are also powerful, but it's important to understand they all come from Krishna. Krishna is the source, right? Just like Prabhupada gives the example of lighting the candle, there is one originally lit candle from which the other candles can be lit. Now, when you keep all the candles, lit candles together, they all look equal. No one can tell the difference. But we know that there is one original candle from which all other candles were lit. So similarly, Krishna, he expands in plenary forms of Vishnu Tattva, and all are equally powerful, but understand that original source is Krishna. Now, in this purpose, Srila Prabhupada is giving example of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, right? They are qualitative incarnations. Incarnation means avatar. So we've heard from the scriptures there is Yuga avatar, Lila avatar, Shaktavesha avatar, Guna avatar. So all these different kinds of avatars, many avatars are there. They are all powerful, but the source of all avatars is Krishna. Now here example is also given about Lord Shiva. So Prabhupada explains the difference that Krishna is like milk and Lord Shiva is like yogurt. So from milk you can make yogurt, but from yogurt you cannot make milk, right? That is the difference. So here this very nice description is given in the purport. The Shambhu Tattva or the principle of Lord Shiva is like a lamp covered with carbon because of his being in charge of the mode of ignorance. Very important. He is in charge of mode of ignorance. He is not in the mode of ignorance, right? This is very important to understand. Sometimes I hear, someone saying, oh, Lord Brahma, mode of goodness, no, sorry, Lord Vishnu, mode of goodness, Lord Brahma, mode of passion, and Lord Shiva in the mode of ignorance. No, not in the mode. He is in charge of the mode of ignorance. See? So this is what is given. Let's see number 90. तैचे सब अवतारेरा कृष्ण से कारण आर एक श्लोक सुना को व्याख्या खंडना. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna, in the same way, is the cause of all causes and all incarnations. Please hear another verse to defeat all misinterpretations. Again, there is talk about interpretation, right? To defeat misinterpretation. So it's very important to go for the bona fide knowledge, to go for the bona fide source, to go for the bona fide spiritual master, to go for bona fide devotees. There may be some devotees who are only dressed like devotees, but are they following the instructions of Guru and Krishna? That is very important, right? So here, defeating misinterpretations. It's important for those of us who are preaching, because while preaching, we will come across so many different kinds of people with so many different goals, with so many different set ideas or perceptions. So here, it's important that we recognize that whatever we are hearing, because when we are preaching, excuse me, we also have to hear what is it that the other person has to say. So whatever they are saying, is it interpretation or is it knowledge as it is, right? So in preaching, it's important to give references, because when we give references from the scriptures, then we can remove the misinterpretations, right? It helps us not only to we can say not just convince the other person, but make the other person understand the knowledge as it is. Now, to be able to preach, Guru Maharaj says that one should have good sadhana. One should develop requisite qualities. that sadhana is important. If the sadhana is not strong, so that is why it says practice before you preach. So if we practice good sadhana, then we will be able to preach nicely. Of course, it all depends ultimately in the hands of Krishna. It is Krishna who within the heart helps the devotee to preach, and also Krishna within the heart of the other person helps the other person to understand the knowledge based on surrender. So if we are preaching to someone and that person is, like Krishna says, Mataha Smriti Jnanam Apohanam cha. If that person wants to forget Krishna, then Krishna from within the heart will guide that person to forget him. So our no amount of preaching will really, make that person kind of convinced. It's not that something is wrong with the preaching, it's not that something is wrong with the knowledge. No, it is the choice of that individual who is choosing not to accept the knowledge, not to go on the spiritual path right now. It's like many times we come across people who just want to enjoy life. I remember when Geet Govind and I used to make phone calls, 2, 3 hours every day, from the directory, to invite, to talk to people and invite them for the Bhagavad Gita class. And I remember there was this lady who was pretty rude. I mean, you don't come to know till you dial the number until you start talking. It's not that the directory said this is a rude person and this is a nice person. We just have to try. It's like, leave the result to Krishna. So here was this lady. So our thing was that we would keep, when we would dial the number, we would put it on speaker. So if a man picked up, Prabhu would talk. If the lady picked up, I would talk, just so that they don't feel uncomfortable. So here this lady picked up and Geet Govind looked at me, your turn, like try it out, see what happens. So I started talking to her and I said, we live very close to your house. We are also in Norcross, and we have these Bhagavad Gita free classes, sessions where, there it's quite interactive. So I was talking about Bhagavad Gita, and she said, oh, well, you know what, I am very busy. So I said, I'm sure you can find 1 hour once a week. It's not a big deal. It won't take you too long to drive up. It's just 5 minutes drive. So she said, no, life is not about Bhagavad Gita. And so I asked her, what is life about? And she said, well, right now I am young, and my children are young, and I want them to excel in everything. So I said, what do you mean? She said, I have a daughter. I have enrolled her in a dance class, in music class, singing class, swimming class. I don't even remember how many classes now, but the list was unending. So I said, but being a parent, don't you think, you should also give this Vedic knowledge to your children, spiritual knowledge besides? So she said, no, there is no time. And she also used this statement. She said, in Rome, do as the Romans do. And afterwards, I asked my husband, what does that mean? And he said, because she's living in America, she wants to live like Americans, swimming, tennis, dancing, this, that, learn everything because the other kids are also doing that. You see, so we come across so many different kinds of people. Now, that lady did not want to remember Krishna. That lady did not want to hear about Krishna. So, what did the Paramatma guide her? Guided her towards her choice, whatever she chose. So, it's even in our day to day life, we have to be careful on what we choose. Not only that, what we desire, because based on our desires, so how do the desires come about? When there are thoughts, right? Thoughts will soon change into words, and soon before we know they will change into actions. So you have to catch them right then and there. So, and that is why Srila Prabhupada, he has given us this morning, strong morning program where we can program our mind in such a way that there is a lot of Krishna consciousness inside. When there is a lot, then when the sadhana is strong, when we are like, when there is firm determination, and all that is possible when we do the Mangalarti, we chant our rounds attentively, and we read. Reading is so very important. Now Gaur Purnima is coming up. So whenever the birthday comes, what do? We give a gift, right? We take a gift. When someone invites us for a birthday party, we take a gift. What gift do we give? Whatever that other person likes, not what we like. So similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthday is coming up. His appearance day is coming up. It's time to meditate on what is it? What kind of gift that I give to him is going to really please him? There's no other gift except Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, what is it going to please him? Oh, I've been chanting every day. So, what's so different? Let us improve our chanting. If we are already chanting in the Shuddha Sattva, in pure state, perfect. But if we haven't reached there, let us give that as a gift to him, that a promise that I will try very, very hard and do whatever it takes to chant my rounds attentively. So let's see. Of course, Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita says, talking here about misinterpretations, there are many interpretations in the market, right? How many Bhagavad Gitas are there? So many versions of Bhagavad Gitas are there in the market, but there is only one Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? Only one. There will be many speculations, many ideas, many interpretations, but we need to follow Guru and Srila Prabhupada and Bhagavad Gita as it is. I'll do these last two verses of today, 91 and 92. Atra sargo visargasya sthanam poshanam utayah manavantaraishanu katha nirodho muktir ashrayah Dashamasya vishuddhyartham navanam iha lakshanam varnayanti mahatmanaha shrutenarthena janjasa. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10 subjects are described. The creation of the ingredients of the cosmos, the creations of Brahma, the maintenance of the creation, special favor given to the faithful, impetuses for activity, prescribed duties for law-abiding men, a description of the incarnations of the Lord, the winding up of the creation, liberation from gross and subtle material existence, and the ultimate shelter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 10th item is the shelter of all the others. To distinguish this ultimate shelter from the other 9 subjects, the Mahajanas have described these 9 directly or indirectly through prayers or direct explanations. Purport. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 1 and 2 list the 10 subject matters dealt with in the text of the Bhagavatam. Of these, the 10th is the substance, and the other 9 are categories derived from this substance. These 10 subjects are listed as follows. Sarga, the first creation by Vishnu, the bringing forth of the 5 gross material elements, the 5 objects of sense perception, the 10 senses, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego, and the total material energy or universal form. So here is talking about Sarga, 5 First, talking about five knowledge acquiring senses, that's eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. Then, also talking about the five working senses, which is voice, legs, hands, anus, and genitals. And what are the objects of the senses? Smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. The next subject is Visarga, the secondary creation or the work of Brahma in producing the moving and unmoving bodies in the universe, the Brahmand. And then the next one is Thana, the maintenance of the universe by the personality of Godhead Vishnu. Vishnu's function is more important and his glory greater than Brahma's and Lord Shiva's. For although Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. We have heard this before. Poshanam. Special care and protection for devotees by the Lord. As a king maintains his kingdom and subjects, but nevertheless gives special attention to the members of his family, so the personality of Godhead gives special care to his devotees who are souls completely surrendered to him. See, we heard in the translation that the 10th subject matter, which is the ultimate shelter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is what all these other nine subjects. So the 10th item is the shelter for all the other nine subjects. And the 10th subject matter is the substance where all the other nine subjects are derived from it. So here he's talking about special care and protection for the devotees. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Na me bhaktya pranashyati," right? My devotee never perishes. Right? He never perishes. So that firm faith is required, like Arjuna had, and the dependence on Krishna is required, like Arjuna had. Then the Krishna says he will protect. Unfortunately, we like to depend on ourselves. We feel everything can be controlled by us. Everything that's happening is can be, under our control, but it is not. We've been seeing this for many, many years that we've tried to control this one, this situation, that situation, but it is beyond our control. Why? Because Krishna is the controller. We need to depend on him instead of depending on ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean we don't do anything. That means that we perform our prescribed duties, but leave the result to him. Krishna, he takes care of his devotees. So if he is giving us some suffering, some misery, some unfortunate situation, some, mental suffering, physical suffering, whatever it may be, it is all a mercy of the Supreme Lord. It is to make us strong in Krishna consciousness. It's to help us to progress in spiritual life. Once I remember I heard a lecture where it was said that once someone surrenders to Krishna, Krishna doesn't let that person go. Krishna holds on to that devotee because it is very rare that someone surrenders to the Supreme Lord. So Krishna holds on to that devotee and takes care of that devotee. And takes care means he sometimes take away things that are an obstacle on the path of spiritual path. What did Srila Prabhupada say? He said that when I surrendered to Krishna, he took away everything. He took away my business, he took away my family, but there was a higher purpose for that, right? If all that had not happened, Srila Prabhupada wouldn't have come to the US and we wouldn't have had these books. We wouldn't have had these translations and purpose, right? We wouldn't have had Krishna consciousness. And it's a scary thought, what would we be doing if we were not Krishna conscious at this time, Saturday morning? Probably sleeping and snoring away, because it's very common. Oh, it's weekend, don't wake me up. I'm going to wake up at noon or whenever, it's possible for me to wake up. So Krishna, he gives special care for his devotees. He takes very special care. Nice example is that of the king. Prabhupada has given this example that the king, he takes care of all his subjects, but he gives special care to his family, right? Special care. Why? Because that is his family. So devotees, they become family of Krishna. So he gives them protection. He takes care of them. He takes special care of them. And all he needs is that we surrender unto him. And what does surrender mean? We follow the process that has been given to us by Guru and Krishna. Next subject is Uti, the urge for creation or initiative power that is a cause of all inventions according to the necessities of time, space, and objects. Manvantara. The periods controlled by the Manus who teach regulative principles for living beings who desire to achieve perfection in human life. The rules of Manu, as described in the Manu Samhita, guide the way to such perfection. Right? This is, a little bit technical, but it is good to know, right? It's difficult to understand the time frame of Manvantara, but important to understand is that these Manus, they teach us the regulative principles that are required for human beings. Nice example. When the dog crosses the red light, doesn't get a ticket because it's an animal, doesn't have the intelligence. But if we cross the red light, then we are liable for punishment. Why? Because we have intelligence. So these regulative principles are there for human beings, not for animals. And what is the purpose? To make us perfect. The process is Krishna consciousness. The scriptures, the acharyas, they are showing us the way. Why they? Even the Supreme Lord, he comes down and shows us the way. How merciful. He came down as a devotee to show us how a devotee should act, what a devotee should do. So, this is how the scriptures, Guru, the sadhus, the acharyas, and the Lord Himself, they show us the way. All we need to do is have firm faith and just follow it. Ishanu Katha. Scriptural information regarding the personality of Godhead, his incarnations on earth, and the activities of his devotees. Scriptures dealing with these subjects are essential for progressive human life. See, all this pastimes of Supreme Lord, pastimes of his devotees. So, hearing these kathas, Krishna katha, Bhakta katha, when we hear all this, it should increase our bhakti. Just imagine hearing the katha of Dhruva Maharaj. We can learn how to be firmly determined no matter what. When Narad Muni came to stop him, he said, "If you can show me the way, show me. Otherwise, leave my way. I want to go. I'm going to search for God." That was his determination. So, with these not stories, the kathas of Krishna, his incarnations, of his devotees, when we hear, it should help us to increase our bhakti, and then we will be able to gradually progress in spiritual life. So, how does it start? It starts with Shravanam, then there is Kirtanam, and then there is Smaranam. The next topic is Nirodh. The winding up of all energies employed in creation. Such potencies are emanations from the personality of Godhead, who eternally lies in the Karana ocean. The cosmic creations manifested with his breath are again dissolved in due course. So he is the source of everything. He is the source of creation, maintenance, and annihilation also. Mukti. Liberation of the conditioned souls encaged by the gross and subtle coverings of body and mind. Right? We learned already in Bhagavad Gita that there is this gross body and then there's a subtle body made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So here it's saying to uh, liberate the conditioned souls, conditioned since time immemorial. Liberate them, those that are engaged in gross and subtle coverings of the body. When freed from all material affection, the soul, giving up the gross and subtle material bodies, can attain the spiritual sky in his original spiritual body and engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord in Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka. When the soul is situated in his original constitutional position of existence, he is said to be liberated. It is possible to engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord and become Jivana Mukta, or liberated soul, even while in this material body. How very important. We should not think moksha, liberation is after we die. No, this is possible even now. So, most people are looking for liberation from sufferings. Oh, somehow the other, if I can get rid of this pain, this suffering, this situation, this person. So, all this, people are looking for liberation from all this. But Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and even Chaitanya Charitamrita, they are showing us how to free ourselves. How, even while being in this material body, we can still be liberated. We can still come to a stage where all these sufferings will not bother us at all. Right now, we are entangled, we are encaged, we are conditioned, right? So, in that conditioning, we are kind of stuck, or you can say bound up, and we are suffering. No one likes to be bound up, but we are bound up. You know, this has something to do with our state of mind. That is why in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna talks about consciousness, that we need to change our consciousness. We need to purify our consciousness with this process of Krishna consciousness. So it all, if we are able to control the mind, then we will be able to control the senses, and then the intelligence will be able to work properly. What is happening in the mind? There are three kinds of people. The third class person is one who will see faults even in good qualities. If someone is singing beautifully, will say, ah, no, the sur went like that. Oh, the voice is not sweet. Find faults even in good qualities. Now, the second class is who will find faults in faults and good qualities in good. But above that is the first class person who will see good even in faults. That, okay, like person like me, I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm giving an example of myself. I don't know how to sing because I don't have that training or I don't have that talent. But when I'm singing, if I'm going haywire, a little tune here or there, or a little sur here or there, but still, if you're able to find a good quality in that, oh, she's singing for Krishna, she's trying to please Krishna, right? So finding good even in bad, even in faults, that is a first class person. So we need to become that Mahatma who is magnifying the good qualities of others, is not looking at the faults of others, is magnifying one's own faults and not looking at one's own good qualities. That stage we need to reach. And how is that possible? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yagna Arthat Karma Nonatra Lokoyam Karma Bandhana. Tad Artham Karma Kante Mukta Sangha Samaja. How to become mukt, how to be liberated. He says, just perform your activities as a sacrifice unto me. So everything that we do, if we can do it for the satisfaction of Krishna, then we will become liberated. There will be mukti. And what is the way to excuse me, to become liberated and then finally go back to the spiritual world? Giving up attachment to materialistic life, giving up attachment to this body, giving up attachment to the relationships, because they are all temporary. More important is our attachment to Krishna. So when we, like it is, Rupa Goswami says, Anya Bhilashita Shunyam. We have to perform unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. Then we will be able to regain our original position, our original constitutional position, which is being a servant of the Supreme Lord. Then we will be able to go to Krishna Loka, not otherwise. But the best part is, here it says that we can be liberated while in this body. It's just a change of consciousness, that's all. And that's possible through devotional service. The last subject matter, number 10, Ashraya. Excuse me. The transcendence, the summum bonum, from whom everything emanates, upon whom everything rests, and in whom everything merges after annihilation. He is the source and support of all. The Ashra is also called the Supreme Brahman, as in the Vedanta Sutta, Athata Brahma Jikyasa Janmadhyasya Yataha. Srimad Bhagavatam specially describes the Supreme Brahman as the Ashraya. Sri Krishna is this Ashraya, and therefore the greatest necessity of life is to study the science of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam accepts Sri Krishna as the shelter of all manifestations because Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate source of everything, the supreme goal of all. Two different principles are to be considered herein, namely Ashraya, the object providing shelter, and Ashrita, the dependence requiring shelter. So, who are we? We are Ashrita, and Krishna is the Ashraya. The ashrita exist under the original principle, the ashraya. The first nine categories described in the first nine cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, from creation to liberation, including the Purusha avatars, the incarnations, the marginal energy, all living entities, and the external energy or material world, are all ashrita. The prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam, however, aim for the ashraya tattva, the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The great souls expert in describing Srimad Bhagavatam have very diligently delineated the other nine categories, sometimes by direct narrations and sometimes by indirect narrations, such as stories. The real purpose of doing this is to know perfectly the absolute transcendence Sri Krishna for the entire creation, both material and spiritual, rests on the body of Sri Krishna. How very beautiful, right? Ashraya means shelter, ultimate, shelter at his lotus feet. Now, to get shelter at his lotus feet, we need to qualify ourselves, right? It doesn't just happen like that. It can happen like that if there is complete surrender. But unfortunately, we are so conditioned to not surrender to anybody or anything. So that consciousness is there with us since time immemorial, but we need to understand Krishna is the source and he is the shelter. So the best thing to do with this human form of life is to study the science of Krishna, which we are doing, right? Since so many years, we are trying to get the knowledge about Krishna, about his devotees, his incarnations. We are trying to understand Krishna, though it is almost impossible, but it's possible with the help of Guru and Krishna. What does Krishna say? Tesham satata yuttanam bhajatam priti purukam. If one worships me with love and devotion, the dami buddhi, I'll give them the intelligence by which they can know me. So, to understand and to apply Bhagavad Gita in our lives, that is the process. It's an easy process given to us by Srila Prabhupada, how to reach that goal, how to understand Krishna, and how to go back to Krishna. Krishna is the Ashraya, and we are the Ashrita. We are dependent on him, right? We are the ones who require the shelter of Krishna. He is ready. He's ready to give us shelter. But the question is, are we ready to surrender, right? Are we ready to give up our attachment here in this material world? Are we ready to go back to Godhead, right? Right? We may think, oh, I have so much here to do. I have such a wonderful family, and look at the job I have. Even in this pandemic, I have a job, and I have good bank balance. I have such a nice home. I have everything I have. I am so happy here. Are we ready to give it all up? Right now, Krishna is not saying give it up in the sense that take them out of the house and say go find your own place, now I am surrendered to Krishna. No, it's a state of consciousness. We take care of the family, not be attached but have affection for the family, which means the whole family together progresses in Krishna consciousness. The whole family together is chanting, the whole family together is sitting and reading Srila Prabhupada's books on a daily basis. That is called taking shelter, ashraya, taking shelter of the ashraya of Lord Sri Krishna. So, out of the 10 subjects, The first 9 subjects are all ashrita, that means they are dependent. And the last subject matter, which is ashraya, is the shelter of the Supreme Lord. So the acharyas, they have clearly explained, they have described that, Krishna is the ashraya and we all are the ashrita. And not only they have just explained, they have diligently explained it, even using stories. Sometimes we see if there is no story in the lecture, then sometimes, devotees think, oh, that was kind of dry, it was kind of boring, we like to hear stories. That's why Krishna has put so many stories in Srimad Bhagavatam. You like stories? Here there's a story in each canto, so read about it. So instead of reading stories about Jack and Jill went up the hill, to fetch a pail of water, all that stuff. No, here there are stories. Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Prachetas, Parikshit Maharaj. There's so many stories in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? What is the purpose of all this? The purpose is so we can understand Krishna perfectly, really perfectly, if we can somehow the other, right? Understand that He is the source of everything. Everything rests upon Him alone. Yeah. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right? About the pearls that are strung, right? On a thread. That thread is Krishna. Everything else is resting on Him. So Krishna is our only shelter. He is waiting for us. He's waiting for us to have the desire to go back to Him. But once we have that intense desire, then Krishna will definitely help us completely. So it is all dependent upon us. Hare Krishna.